Well, hey there, and welcome to Stress.Intonation channel. There are so many interesting and intelligent ways of expressing your ideas in English. We're going to be focused on expanding your vocabulary, and I've got a mini quiz for you at the end of this video to make sure that all these exciting new words actually stick in your mind and become part of your regular everyday vocabulary. So stay tuned. So many of the students get stuck in a bad habit of using basic vocabulary because it's easy and yeah, you can communicate your message with basic English vocabulary right, and that's awesome, but there's gonna come a time when either you notice or other people around you start to notice that actually you're just using the same words and repeat again and again. To be interesting to impress and influence people, you've got to keep expanding your vocabulary. So we want to activate that broader vocabulary today. And one surefire way to expand your vocabulary and sound more impressive as you use English is to use better adjectives and better descriptive words in your sentences. And you can train yourself to stop using really dull and boring adjectives just by avoiding one little word. Very, like very happy, very good, very bad. And a little hint, some other words that you might be using with dull adjectives are words like so, such, and really. And the cool thing is, this one simple rule will help you to become more conscious and more aware of the words that you choose when you speak, and this is really important because using very regularly is a habit that you need to break. So let's start with very happy. Now there's lots of different ways to express the idea with English. Isn't there? Joyful, thrilled, ecstatic, elated. If we look at some examples, we should be able to make it a little clearer when you use each one. She just found that she's pregnant. She's very happy. We can add more meaning by saying she's overjoyed. She's full of happiness and joy. We could say that she's thrilled, especially if she's really happy and excited. We can say she's ecstatic or she's elated. And that's even stronger again. That's joyful excitement, an overwhelming feeling of happiness in a really positive way. So if you want to add even more meaning, choose one of those two. There are so many better and more meaningful ways to say that you're very sad, and I think this lesson is going to be like a roller coaster. It's going to be full of highs and lows. Happy, sad, good, bad, but we're just going to ride it out, okay? The truth is, we can be sad for lots of different reasons, and we can be sad in lots of different ways. So, as you start expanding your vocabulary, you really need to become more aware of the little differences between words like heartbroken, devastated, disappointed, and dejected. Because all of them are more meaningful ways to talk about that feeling of being very sad. His girlfriend just left him. He's very sad. So, in this context, she left him meaning that she broke up with him. So, he's probably heartbroken, and heartbroken is the perfect adjective to use when love is involved in sadness. You could also say that he's devastated too, especially if he wasn't expected it. and it was a bit of a shock. So when you have sadness together with shock and surprise, these emotions together, devastated, is a really good choice. Let's look at a different example. Sarah looked very sad. She's been so confident she would win the competition, but then she came fifth. She looked disappointed. She's unhappy because she wasn't as good as she thought she'd be, but you could also say that Sarah looks dejected. Using dejected suggests that in that moment she's lost hope that she'll ever compete again. It's that sad she's just lost all hope. There are several other really great words that you can say if you're very sad. You might use ashamed, melancholy, crestfallen. I mean, you're gonna have so much fun with thesaurus, but the trick with these new words is studying how they're used, making sure that you're using them accurately with the appropriate verbs and prepositions that they often get used with. And the second thing you need to be aware of is the context in which they're used, because those different meanings are ever so slightly different and makes one more appropriate to use in one situation while another perhaps not. He looked devastated because he lost the competition. Well, stop saying very good. There are so many other better ways of saying very good in English. Very good should be banned, because instead we can say amazing, fantastic, fabulous, magnificent, excellent, wonderful, splendid, exceptional, awesome. All these words are so similar. You can use them in almost any situation. That's a very good idea. That's a marvelous idea. That's an excellent idea. I thought your performance was very good. Your performance was exceptional. Your performance was amazing. It was a splendid performance. Now we're going down again. We're going to think of some alternatives for very bad. Can you think of any? Because there are lots of them. I'm sure some are popping into your mind already. Horrible, terrible, awful, dreadful, and atrocious. Can you hear that stress syllable in those words? When I pronounced them, I was exaggerating the stress syllables to add emphasis and even more meaning. Horrible, atrocious. You can do that with all adjectives, whether they are negative or positive adjectives, to add even more meaning. It tasted very bad. It tasted awful. Yuck. It tasted disgusting. Disgusting can be used when food tastes really bad or when something smells really bad. That smells disgusting. The weather's been very bad lately. The weather's been terrible lately. It's been dreadful. And if you were talking about someone's behavior and you're saying that they behaved that very badly, you might say that their behavior was atrocious. His behavior was atrocious. I love that word, atrocious. There's not a lot of things in the world that are atrocious, but it is a very good adjective to use when you're saying that something is very bad. The weather was atrocious. Of course, you have to be careful about how to use these negative adjectives, because they have a really strong meaning and they can be offensive, especially if you're using them to talk about a person or something that they do or something that they care about. That can hurt. Can you think of any other ways to say very bad? This is a really good activity to practice, to activate words that you don't use so often. So if you can think of some other ways to say very bad, add them down in the comment below. If you catch yourself talking about something that is very big, then you can replace this kind of average adjective with a more sophisticated one like huge, obviously, enormous, massive, gigantic, and monstrous. We walked through a very big gate at the entrance. It was an enormous gate. A gate that we walked through was massive. Gigantic and monstrous are very, very big, exceptionally large. Some of the ships that pull in and out of the port near my house are monstrous. When I'm walking past these gigantic ships, I feel very small. Can you think of a better way to say very small? Tiny, minuscule, minimal. Paul was quite angry about the damage, even though the scratch on his car was very small. It was tiny, minuscule. We could totally see it. The chances of losing all your money are very small. They're minimal. But chances are minimal. Let's keep going. What can you think of? That's very dirty. Your kitchen. Your dog after it's rolled in dirt. Don't let that dog inside. It's very dirty. It's filthy. Filthy is a great word for very dirty. Your bedroom is filthy. If you're talking about a room or maybe a car that is very clean, you could say it was spotless or immaculate, perfect. Not a single thing was out of place. We were so impressed when we got home. The house was very clean. The house was spotless. It was immaculate. They must have spent hours cleaning it. And we can definitely improve on very pretty can be. And I'm sure, absolutely certain that you have at least one alternative in mind. Hopefully it was beautiful, but we can also use stunning, elegant, or even exquisite. She looked very pretty as she came down the stairs in a blue dress. She looked stunning and she came down the stairs. And lastly, as we come off the high very pretty, of course we need to have very ugly, right? So instead of very ugly, you could say hideous, and you can also say grotesque. Now obviously I don't need to remind you again, but I feel like I have to. These adjectives are extremely strong and negative, so please do not use them to describe people. That's awful. Some of the big houses up on the hill are very ugly. They're grotesque. Their driveways are lined with very ugly statues. The statues are hideous. They're hideous. Just because people have lots of money doesn't mean they have good taste, right? Grotesque houses and hideous statues. Okay, so it's time to test everything you know with a little quiz. I'm gonna read out a sentence and you need to improve the words that are highlighted in the sentence. There might be more than one option that you can choose from, so that makes it a little bit easier, but I'm gonna go through them quite quickly because I want to test your recall. I want to test how quickly are these new words popping into your head, all right? So we're going for speed this time.